What SEC team benefits the most from Texas and Oklahoma entering the SEC? I'm going to argue, because July the 1st is the day they do it, I'm going to argue it's Tennessee. You've got the UT tie-in. Who's the real UT? You've got the fact that Volunteers comes from the fact that that's not the University of Mexico, Austin right now. So you've got that tie-in, sister states. And then you've got the Josh Heupel tie-in with the University of Oklahoma, where he coached but was fired. As far as storylines, give me somebody that's a close second or even better than Tennessee and the changes that are coming into the conference with the Sooners and the Longhorns.
In the current moment, there is nobody, and you are very right about that. I mean, it's incredible with those two, with the storylines of Josh, because there are ties to both schools. You're right, Josh Heupel to Oklahoma, Tennessee. Really fighting in the Mexican-American War, sending a ton of volunteers in the 1840s to basically make sure Texas becomes part of the U.S. There were some moral ambiguity on the Mexican-American War, but that's a different story altogether, different time. But it's I will say that Tennessee has the best ties. Now, do they benefit the most from those ties? Remains the question. I would make the argument that they probably don't benefit the most, because they're probably going to. Well, no, I think they do. And Dave, I'll give you the floor on this, but they're going to play Vanderbilt, Kentucky, and they're the easiest draws regularly in the SEC schedule now with it at 16 teams.
Okay, well, you're including big picture, which I'm totally comfortable with. So let's go that direction. With the reconfigured SEC, is there a school that benefits more? Now, you're including the matchups and the upcoming schedule. We don't know really what the 2025 schedule is going to be, because I have a feeling there's going to be major adjustments to that. But, Caleb, as far as Tennessee, is there any school that truly compares? Who else gains as much as the Vols do, who also can benefit from recruiting in Texas? They haven't been good there, but the exposure can only help.
Who benefits along with Tennessee from Texas joining?
And Oklahoma. I'm going to throw one at you. Well, Texas A&M.
You think they benefit?
I'm going to say they benefit because they're going to play those two teams on a regular basis. I think that makes their program stronger. Now, if I were you, I would retort with recruiting, right?
Right. That's where I was thinking. It's hard for me to say they benefit. Okay, I'm going to throw one out there that I think benefits even more if we're going to talk about this. Ready?
I'm ready.
Arkansas. Arkansas
benefit.
Arkansas is going to rekindle their rivalries with Texas A&M and Texas. And they're going to be going into Texas once a year for a football game, probably twice a year for football games, and having a recruiting presence there. And they will be constantly playing teams. And if they can catch Texas at a bad time when they're down and start winning, all of a sudden they will be regularly in Texas's backyard. And you're doing this at a time when Jerry Jones and Walmart money are saying, we want to make Arkansas competitive. I mean, how much money did they just throw at John Calipari?
Yeah, that Walmart money's stupid. I don't know if you've ever been in Fayetteville, but if you don't make 6 digits, you're like a lower class citizen. I mean, just the fact that me and a couple of other sports writers were sports writers, which is kind of a cool job. We didn't pay for a single drink all night just because everybody had money. It was bizarre. You don't need money to get fantastic game day apparel. That's right. You can get it right there. Rick Terry Jewelry Design. They want to be your jeweler looking for affordable game day jewelry. Follow on Facebook for the best sports memorabilia daily updates. Go to Sports Treasures TN, Sports Treasures TN on Facebook, and follow them. They're on our Off the Hook Sports Facebook page all the time. So that's a great way to hook up with them as well. Caleb, what other teams might benefit? You made a strong argument with a generational top high school prospect coming out of Texas. Everybody said he was a sure thing. And in reality, when you're a first round pick in the NFL, that's proven to be true as a college player, right? If Arkansas can get that type of player, you pointed out before how a generational quarterback can change the direction of your program, then maybe it just takes one guy. Because as much as I like and respect KJ Jefferson, he was never going to be that guy.
No, he wasn't. He also, unfortunately, didn't play for the right coach. That I don't know why he's still at Arkansas. But yeah, I absolutely agree. And if Bobby Petrino takes back over at Arkansas in a year, which could happen, by the way, and he lands on Lamar Jackson, Dave, I mean, we're having a real conversation. So as far as other teams that benefit, so I don't think Alabama benefits. People are going to ask about them because Alabama's regular rivals, no matter how you slice it, they will always have a tougher road. And the same with Florida. I think you could end up seeing Georgia benefit, though. I do think Georgia's going to end up benefit. And here's why Georgia's going to benefit. And actually, this is what helps Tennessee, too. The college football playoff is expanding to 12 teams. This is where it's super helpful with Texas and Oklahoma joining. You don't have to win the SEC to go to the college football playoff. Just them being in the SEC increases your odds of reaching the college football playoff now because your schedule strength is going to be at a level where if you're in the top third of the SEC, you're an automatic shoo-in to go, Dave. So if this were the 4-team college football playoff or back in the old system where they really valued conference champions, I would say vote against this all day. This is going to hurt you long term because you don't really want that situation. So I got a team for you. Here's the team that benefits the most. You ready? Here's even more than Tennessee. Mark Stoops led Kentucky. And the reason is Kentucky is...
I tell you what. Sell me on that because I don't know where you're going here. But I do remind you the show represented by Banks and Jones. Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play. Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks and Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks and Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks and Jones. T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com. What team benefits? I'll give you another one as well.
Okay. Can I make my case for Kentucky first?
Oh, yes. Make your case for Kentucky. I thought you had another one that you were throwing in there.
No. I wanted to make my case for Kentucky. Mark Stoops led Kentucky. Mark Stoops schedules easy enough and gets nice breaks in his scheduling because of Kentucky's annual rivals, Tennessee and Vanderbilt. And Mississippi State, those are Kentucky's like 3 annual rivals that they're going to always have to play, which is like outside of Tennessee, it's like Vanderbilt and Mississippi State, really. And so Mark Stoops always has a path. Every 3 or 4 years, always has a path to 9 or 10 wins, right, Dave? Like a 9-3, 10-2 season.
True.
In a 16-team SEC that has Texas and Oklahoma with a 12-team college football playoff, that will be enough of a selling point for Kentucky to get into the college football playoff. So every 4 years now, Mark Stoops has a path to the college football playoff. When did Kentucky ever have a path to the college football playoff before then?
If they've had one, I'm not aware of it. I think you may be overselling it just a little bit. You really see Kentucky ever making a college football playoff? If you had a bet your mortgage on it, what would it be?
If I had to bet my mortgage on it?
Yes.
I would bet not
and
every
I'll give you 10 years Kentucky makes the college football playoff, yay or nay. That's the bet. It's not ever.
Yes. In over 10 years, they would make the college football playoff. They finished the 2018 season ranked number 14. If they did that this year with Texas and Oklahoma in the SEC, they'd probably be ranked number 10 or number 9 and be like that last team in the college football playoff. I am telling you, that's who they are.
Thank you, Smokey Red. He said LMAO, which I think means laughing my rear off.
Yeah.
UK and football playoffs. Thank you, Smoky Mountain Red. I think, Caleb, you got a chance to respond to Smoky Mountain Red. He's giving you an LMAO. I don't know what the A means because I'm not hip, but
Smoky Mountain Red, this is a default position you're thinking of and not on the overall inner workings of what's going on. There's this is what happens a lot of times. People just believe a default thing, but you have to believe what's possible with evidence. I mean, this happens all the time in anything. So don't just take the default position. The default position is Kentucky's not a college football playoff team as a program. Fine. But look at the evidence surrounding the SEC and the circumstances, okay? And that's where I'm at. Okay, look, yeah, no, it's possible it happens. So,
well, let's face it, Smoky Mountain Red, no offense. If TCU can make it, Kentucky can make it, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Now, granted, TCU, again, when you're in Texas, you can get lucky and get the right generational player. And
right.
It's harder for Kentucky.
I was referring to Kyler Murray. You also play in an easier conference, but that was a pretty good conference that year. They made the championship game from top to bottom. It just wasn't as top heavy as the SEC. I'll tell you the other team that I think really benefits is Oklahoma, because it felt like they were in the Big 12, but they really were just kind of out there hanging out in a conference that was okay. Nowadays, I think Oklahoma can get into the South, and this isn't good for Tennessee, but can recruit in the South, whereas they couldn't get those big war daddies out of the South. So I would take Oklahoma, as today is the day that Texas and Oklahoma come into the SEC, as one of the schools that most benefits. But let's face it, everybody benefits. I think Tennessee is right up at the top. And Caleb, the other school we had that I thought you made a great call on was Arkansas.